So the question says that one solution the writer recommends. So that means there can be multiple solutions, but I am looking for one solution. There may be only one solution, there may be multiple solutions. I'm looking for one. So one solution that the writer is recommending to address, to solve, to resolve, to address unnecessary intervention for incidental lumas is what exactly? So what is that one solution? Which addresses the problem, the issue of unnecessary, unrequired, not required, unjustified intervention when it is not even needed. So starting from this paragraph, I have read that this is something somewhat of an area which does talk about my answer options. Why do I say that? Well, the reason why I say that is because this part of the paragraph talks about how important something is, how difficult something will remain, but it doesn't talk about a solution. It talks about the consequences, like, or the reasons for something like preventing psychological harm or physical harm is an imperative, but it doesn't mention what is a solution, correct? So I'm only going to be looking at this part of the paragraph for my answer here. So increasing use of medical imaging will likely detect more incidental lumas. We already knew that, which may prompt inappropriate intervention. So inappropriate intervention is another term for what exactly? For unnecessary intervention. So basically, this is the problem that will arise. Good. Now, what is the solution for it? They've introduced the topic. They must introduce the solution now. Well, greater clinician and patient awareness. So that means patients and clinicians need to be aware more of this particular risk. By this risk, they're talking about how using the imaging tests more will detect more incidental luma. So patients need to be aware of this. The clinicians need to be aware of this, and then applying a better evidence-informed, and a risk-based approach, using an approach in which you are prescribing or suggesting something based on evidence rather than just feeling, based on after considering the risk factors for both the patient and all the risk factors that you can possibly consider. So all of these things, after considering those, that's the approach that you need to use to imaging requests. So the imaging requests that you are making and approving as well. So basically, before making any imaging requests or approving any imaging request as a patient or as a practitioner, you need to be aware of that. The more you test something, the more it is going to become a problem. You need to be aware. So awareness is one solution. The other solution is using an approach which is evidence-informed and risk-based. Then imaging request and incidental luma reporting are potential remedial strategy. So they have called it a remedial strategy as well, which is why I knew this altogether is my answer. This awareness, then this using this particular evidence-informed and risk-based approach. This is my answer clearly. Now let's look at answer options. Limiting the use of imaging tests. Very clever. Very clever. Because as soon as you see unnecessary intervention, inappropriate intervention, you automatically, as a student, will think, or somebody like me will think, if intervention is unnecessary, then don't do that. Do only limited number, or do only what is required, or how many interventions are required. Do only those tests, which makes sense. But the only problem is the writer has not recommended it in the paragraph. They have not recommended it. Maybe they have implied it. Careful consideration before you order or accept any imaging request. But I am going to keep it here, but I'm not going to think that this is the right answer just yet. So they are talking about being very, very careful, which is another terms. They are talking about being cautious. Yes. And selective in their decision making. Yes, be very, very cautious by considering all of these risk factors, and selective, that means don't just approve all the requests, and be very selective as to which approve or which imaging request do you want to approve or not. So it does make sense for me to say being cautious and selective in their decision making, by their decision making, both the patient and the clinician. Both of them need to consider these things. So it makes sense. I like this answer option more than I like answer option A, but I'm still going to look at other answer options. Focusing more on treatment than detection. They've not at all talked about focusing more on this or that. Definitely not mentioned. Investigating all findings equally. They have not mentioned anything like that or equality or anything as such. So I know C and D are definitely going to be incorrect answer options. A and B, well, I can understand from here that they are asking me to follow an approach which is more cautious, which is more selective, which is a very particular approach, rather than saying limiting the use of imaging tests. I would consider A to be an answer option if I was not given answer option B here, because answer option B is something that I can find from the paragraph, while answer option A is something that I would have to infer if I didn't have a better answer option. So that's why I would say that answer option A is incorrect here, and I would go with answer option B to be my right answer. Notice how answer option B doesn't mention any of these things, but rather in a more general way, it mentions that the writer is asking you to be cautious or selective. And that's how you know that this whole thing in general is the writer asking you to be more cautious. The writer is asking you to follow a specific approach. So, yeah, all that, making answer option B to be the right answer.